This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. The female Irish voice. The voice itself is a seductress. Just an amazing accent. I love it. I love it. And she is absolutely one of the best examples ever. So sad to hear her pass. What a great song. What a great lyric. What great passion. We could all only hope to have one time in our life where we could capture permanently audio, video, text, you name it, the passion that woman captures on that song. Absolutely to die for. Today, I want to get into one of my favorite subjects, cognitive dissonance. That psychobabble term, at least I'm sure many people hear it and think Covel is quoting some psychobabble, or the PhD in pursuit out there hears me use the term and says, Covel doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So today, I will give my best explanation, my best education, channeling through an author from Malaysia who wrote this great article. The article title, Quick to Attack and Condemn Why We Do It. This is the modern life right now. Too many of us, and I don't care what your education is or how big your wallet is. It only takes a few moments to go on Twitter and see some of the wealthiest, most accomplished people in the world in full-blown cognitive dissonance. I'm not going to name names, but you can find them. They're everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Now, the great example, of course, in our modern life, 2016, 17, and into 18, is one President, Donald Trump. This guy causes reactions across the spectrum. Now, one perspective could be he's a typical GOP guy, a typical Republican. He wants tax cuts. He wants Supreme Court justices that are against abortion. He wants to be friendly with Israel. He wants stronger defense. He wants to cut back on immigration, cut back on social welfare. These are all very typical GOP planks. Normal stuff. Really not that controversial. Now, on the flip side, instead of just observing those as facts, plenty of people on the opposite polar extreme have not been looking at Trump that way. They've been looking at him an entirely different way. For example, he's got Alzheimer's. He's demented. He's crazy. There's something wrong with him upstairs. We've all heard this now for months. Now, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know Donald Trump. I've never met him. I have no clue. Maybe he is demented. Maybe he's crazy as shit. I mean, I've got to keep an open mind because I don't know. Now, I can say that it seems like, since so many of the critics that have been bringing up his mental health are partisan, it seems like it's a partisan attack. That's what it seems like. Because it's not really his fellow GOP Republican people saying he's got dementia or Alzheimer's. It's the other side of the aisle saying it. But again, how the hell can we know? Now keep with me for a second, because this style of thinking, this way of breaking down a problem, this is exactly what you have to do with investing. Exactly what you have to do with trading. So how do you get to the bottom of whether or not Trump is A-OK mentally or he has dementia? And then it's time for the 25th Amendment to be exercised and pull Trump out of office. Seriously, I mean, that's really where we are as a society. Well, Trump just had his checkup, his physical. And apparently, now if I get any of these facts wrong, I'll stand up to it. You can let me know if I got them wrong. Apparently, Trump asked for a cognitive exam, some type of cognitive instrument. The doctor, the White House doctor, administering the exam, from what I understand, was appointed by Obama. That doesn't necessarily mean he was a left-leaning doctor. He could have had no political persuasion. Who knows? But typically the way that it works, if we know that the doctor was appointed by Obama, that gives more credibility to whatever diagnosis he might give on Trump's mental condition. Trump takes this cognitive exam. He scores 30 for 30. The average score is 26 out of 30. So he scored perfect. The doctor stood there and took questions from the White House press corps for literally an hour, I think. Hey, are you sure he's not brain dead? Are you sure he's not crazy? Now, the doctor has just administered this mental exam. Trump apparently is fine. Now, you see, there you have your cognitive dissonance. Because that White House media room, which is generally partisan, not pro-Trump, doesn't know what to do with the fact when they're told by a doctor that the story you've been pushing for months is not true. Then what happens? I don't know. Then what happens is what we all need to ask about society today. What happens? What happens when you or anybody says something that's just not true and stays with that untruth even when you're corrected? Now, to quote from this article that I pulled from Malaysia, actually, a Malaysian author, what I did was replace the beginning of his piece with my examples like I just did. And he says, what kind of mindsets produce such reactions? Was it so difficult to interact with the article in an objective manner? Was it really so hard to just read the essay, note one's objections to it, do some research, and, well, write a response? Ironically, the phenomena of cognitive dissonance states that it is indeed very hard to do all of the above. The phenomena refers to the mental stress and discomfort we feel when presented with arguments or facts which rip a hole in our notions of reality. It's one of the toughest things in the world to accept that maybe one's view of the world isn't entirely right. Some of our opinions and beliefs belong to the core of ourselves. To question or bracket them can be as painful as tearing out a portion of our skin. That's why cognitive dissonance can often feel like mental torture. Now let's use a market example. Look at the crypto space right now. I can't tell anyone who has made a bloody fortune on cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, or whatever other coin. I can't begin to tell any of those people that they don't know the fundamentals. Because what so many of them are doing is making a boatload of money, riding a trend, and then creating a storyline. Creating the storyline after the trend. Isn't this what's so great about trend following? Trend following actually helps you to keep the cognitive dissonance at bay. It helps you to kind of put handcuffs on. So instead of looking at the price behavior of any market and saying, I know why it's at this level, with trend following, you say, yeah, maybe I'd like to know, but I really can't know. And no one else can really know either. So if you can't know, then why beat yourself up trying to know? Why not just let go and say, Bitcoin went to 19,000. It's dropped back down to 10 or 11,000. Maybe it goes to 1 million from here. Maybe it goes to 0. Why not stop the guessing? Why not stop with the idea that you think you can know something? Or why not go for an alternate explanation for Bitcoin? Let's say, for example, you are so versed and rehearsed in the cryptocurrency space, the blockchain space, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt why it's gone straight up. You can run circles around me. You just know. You absolutely know. What I would say, where's your alternate explanation? Where is your alternate explanation? What if the alternate explanation is you got lucky, right? What if the alternate explanation is it just took off and you're standing there and I give you all the props for getting on board, right? You deserve all the credit for pulling the trigger. But what happens if you ride the trend up and do the full 360 all the way back down? Now, are you going to be honest enough with yourself that you really didn't know what you were doing? Of course not, because now you're in full-blown cognitive dissonance. Back to the article. The more certain you are of a perspective, the more severe your dissonance or mental torture will be when something threatens that perspective. Now he goes back into the example of the USA presidential election in 2016, and he says, look, if you were 300% sure that Trump is a full-blown bigot or racist, and there was simply no way he can win the US presidency, any strong fact or argument which contradicts your certainty will cause literally mind-numbing pain. Literally. This is why Trump's victory produced arguably the worst case of cognitive dissonance in American history ever. The author goes on to say, if I'm extremely pro-Clinton or anti-Trump after the election results, it's likely that I'd immediately reach for the number one panacea, hallucinating. When confronted with another reality which seems impossible to shake off or refute, the best and quickest solution is to generate an illusion to counter the alternate reality. Such hallucinations could take the form of personal attacks. Everyone who supported Trump is a xenophobic, or cheap explanations. Trump rigged the system, or even cheaper pronouncements of the future. Don't worry, he'll be impeached in no time. The author goes on to say the last one's one of the funniest, because the very same people whose predictions were completely wrong still have the audacity to make even more predictions. Look, right now, some of you are out there thinking, Covel, this is some secret attempt for you to prop up Trump. You're just a Trump lover. I'm sure, right? Look, some of my really good friends, accomplished traders, accomplished people in the media. I'm not going to name names. You can figure them out. They've been on this podcast. They don't like Trump at all. But I still respect the hell out of them because they're very reasoned people. And the reason they don't like Trump, it's really not because of Trump. It's really, they just have a different political persuasion. They vote for Democratic candidates typically. Now look, a conservative can't just unilaterally say, oh my gosh, you vote for Democratic candidates, you're terrible. Because then the conservatives in cognitive dissonance. The author gets back at it. The bottom line is that many Clinton supporters simply cannot accept that Trump campaigned perhaps more effectively, or maybe even gasp, was a better candidate than Hillary. That's like asking Manchester United fans to accept that Liverpool is a better team. And the author says, okay, whatever, let's don't go there. The author brings up the 2007 U.S. property market. It was a sure win investment, right? And what did the losers say when it crashed and many folks were ruined? Oh, the market adjusts itself over time, or these fluctuations simply could not have been predicted by anyone. Basically, the one conclusion they will never accept is they were wrong and irresponsible and greedy for jumping into a system of collateralized debt obligations that they were clueless about. Larry Tittarelli just sent me a tweet literally while I'm doing this podcast. A quote from some media publication: Vadim Simonov, 24, a programmer in New York, has maxed out the credit lines on 2 credit cards to buy $35,000 of Bitcoin on Monday when the currency's price was briefly above $19,000. Bitcoin's dive left him feeling unmoored on Friday morning. Quote, I panicked a lot and was checking to find out news about why it's dropping. End quote. Checking news to find out why Bitcoin is dropping. I don't even know if that's cognitive dissonance or that's literally insanity. It's fucking nuts, man. The whole point here is to look at these crazy examples, these emotionally filled examples. Oh my gosh, I've missed out on Bitcoin. It's gone from 200 to 19,000 to 10,000. Maybe it's going to go to 1 million. I missed out on everything. I could have been as rich as my friend who supposedly made $1 million on Bitcoin. Or to go crazy about Trump. What's the better way to pursue all this mentally? The better way to pursue is to find alternate explanations. If you really think, for example, that Trump is a racist, xenophobic, bigot scumbag, and all of his supporters are that, which is a significant number of the population of the United States of America, if you believe that, maybe it's time to stop and look for the alternate explanation. Now, look, before too many people think this is a, once again, secret Covel Trump ode, imagine what would have happened if Clinton would have won. It would have been reversed. And maybe many of the things that people would have criticized Clinton about would have been true. Many of them would not have been true. But the challenge for all of us as we navigate the world, and look, my primary focus is money, but unfortunately, too many people get their money and their politics mixed up. For example, here, for those of you that don't like Trump, here's the anti-Trump. The stock market has roared because of Donald Trump. There it is. That's the statement of fact that's put out there by conservative media. Can you find an alternate explanation for that? Has the stock market gone up for some other alternate explanation? Well, first off, nobody knows why the damn stock market goes up. Giving credit to any president, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Reagan, take it all the way back. You can't give credit to presidents for the stock market. It doesn't work like that. Okay, Mike, you can say, what about you? You need an alternate explanation. Maybe it really does work that way, Mike. Maybe you've not given enough credit to Donald Trump. You are not willing to say that Trump, in 1 year in office, pushed the stock market up to record heights. I'm not willing to say that because I have looked at U.S. equity indices going back decades upon decades. And there's no connective tissue to U.S. presidents and the U.S. stock market. If we're going to say that, then how do you explain these damn bubbles that we've had in the last 20 years? How do you explain the dot-com bubble? I mean, Bill Clinton left office right when the dot-com bubble was collapsing. But he got all the credit for it going up. That doesn't make any sense. So George Bush inherited the dot-com bubble. And then another bubble happens under George Bush and collapses right at the end of his term, right as Obama's coming in. What does any of this have to do with anything? I mean, if you're making your decisions on money and markets based on who the president is, you're nuts. You're crazy. That's not what you're supposed to be doing, really. Look, I know I am a voice in the wilderness. Who the hell out there in media, anywhere, says what I'm saying right now? Nobody says it. So the author goes on to conclude, deal with it, ? So how do we deal with cognitive dissonance in our lives? We'll all experience it every now and then. How can we ensure it doesn't make us weave even more deceptions and dishonesty into our thought lives? One idea, stop hallucinating and start studying, or at least reading up on both sides, and do so in as objective a manner as possible. And I love this line from the author. If I can be mad as hell over another person's position, why can't I spend some time educating myself on it? Well, that gets back to the beginning of his article. Because if you've just spent 6 months assuming that Trump has dementia, that Trump has Alzheimer's, that he's a stark, raving fucking lunatic, and now the White House doctor appointed by Obama says, not true, well, you have to ask yourself, who's the stark, raving fucking lunatic? Trump or you? And again, this is no defense of Trump. The guy clearly says things that are on the edge. He clearly has zero political correctness. A lot of people love that, and a lot of people hate that. The author concludes, don't take anybody's word for it without some fact-checking. And if others produce a new fact that you haven't yet considered, which damages your perspective, check up on that too. For every word of judgment you fling, ensure you have blank numbers of pages of learning done beforehand. What do you have to lose? One of the things that I absolutely love about being an American who is spending a lot of time outside of America is because the cacophony of voices, it all starts to be less important. And it starts to look crazier and crazier and crazier to me. Because staying attached to the news on a daily basis, waiting for the next breaking news headline, and this all started with 9/11, let's face it. We've never got off breaking news headlines. When 9/11 hit, we're now approaching, the 18th year of breaking headlines every 5 minutes. None of this stuff is healthy. None of this stuff helps you to make decisions. And look, the point of this podcast today is not to tell you that Trump is great or tell you that Trump is bad. That's not the point. It's a fantastic example to make my point. Are you in cognitive dissonance about whatever issue it might be? Politics, cryptocurrencies, current U.S. stock market, your belief set. Yeah, your belief set. What's your belief set based on? Have you given your belief set a back test, so to speak? That's the great thing, again, about trend following, is even though you can look out there and see conservative, Republican voting trend following traders and liberal, Democratic voting trend following traders, what do they have in common? They have in common that they are smart enough, regardless of different political persuasions, they are smart enough on both sides to put that stuff aside, and for their most important decisions, they say, we can't predict anything. We're going to follow the price, and that's what we do. And then the political stuff, that becomes kind of second fiddle. That becomes something you believe in, but that's not how you invest your money. So go for me right now and find other media outlets that are willing to say it as bluntly as I'm saying it right now. Find somebody on CNBC that says it like this. Find someone on Bloomberg that says it like this. They're not going to. They can't. Because if they admit that what I'm saying is true, they have to admit that they are too, boom, in their own full-blown, daily, never-ending cognitive dissonance. Trend following is a wonderful way of calming oneself down, to help think clearly, to focus on what's important. I am forever grateful that I've had so many fantastic mentors over the years and across this podcast to keep me calm, to keep me grounded, to not let the headlines, the CNN headlines or the Fox News headlines, to not let those headlines get me too crazy. Oh, sure, I enjoy watching it. And, you want to have debates and you want to have arguments and you want to try and get to an end. You want to try and get to a better place. But damn it, we all have to admit that that's never going to happen, right? Society will keep unfolding the best that it can and keep pushing forward. And all we can all hope to do is just follow that damn trend. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.